Hello Crosswalk, this is Amanda Eidelman here, and I'm just gonna take some time to talk through my article, What Not to Do When You Feel Like a Woman Scorned. Alright, let's see what we got in here. So, point number one is don't share your business with everyone you know. I think really the point here is just to use wisdom. I think this is true in all relationships, even if you're not walking through a really tough scenario where maybe there's broken trust or some other really devastating piece. But even run-of-the-mill arguments and ups and downs that you go through in relationship, you have to confide in the right people that are going to give you sound wisdom. I mean, there are so many times where something as dumb as, disagreeing over how we should do something with our children. If I ask the wrong friend, they could, encourage me to stay bitter or to see the negative in my relationship. And I need people to help me stay positive and to have the Lord's wisdom imparted into my life. So if you're in those tough scenarios, find somebody who can give you a unbiased godly perspective that you can trust, and use that input to help you navigate something that it can be really hard to see clearly when you're walking through hurt and disappointment. So you need to rely on the support of other people who know you and know the Lord. Don't let your anger fester. And again, true for basically any relational difficulties. But I think, things that hurt us in relationship, if it's the romantic ones in our marriages and boyfriends, and just like everyday close friendships, when we feel betrayed or hurt or unseen or lied to, it's really hard not to let that anger grow and grow, because it's so personal, it's so deep. And anger is a natural reaction. It's not wrong to be angry, but what can really steal from us even more than the hurt is the continual sort of stewing on those hard and difficult places. And thankfully God is gracious to redeem even the most difficult places of hurt and trauma in our stories. It doesn't mean we stay put, doesn't mean we stay in our relationship, doesn't mean that we forgive and forget, because we shouldn't forget hurt, we shouldn't forget trauma. We need to protect ourselves, find healing and freedom, and that's how we move away from that place of anger and hard-heartedness. Don't minimize your need for reconciliation. Sometimes reconciling is really hard, and I totally understand the feeling of wanting to sort of avoid anything that feels uncomfortable, especially if you're in a negative pattern already, and then especially if it's a deep wound. But even if, there's no way to actually bring your marriage back together, or the relationship, or it's unhealthy, there is still a need for a place of safety and interaction, especially if you're in a marriage where you share children. Even when divorce is the only way forward, there has to be a safe place of communication or interaction. So finding a trusted counselor, a pastor, a neutral third party, a friend that can help you walk through some of that stuff together, if at all possible, or even alone if you're in a situation where that partner is completely out of the picture, but you can walk through the trauma that you've experienced and find a place of emotional reconciliation and healing, but you need the help and support of other people. So get that help. Don't seek revenge. Again, also really hard when it comes to matters of the heart. You know, when your livelihood, your life, your investment level is so high in another person, when they really betray that trust, or do something really just unimaginable, revenge is a part of a natural human feeling. But the Lord, teaches us that He is the ultimate justice giver, and that is a good thing, because if it was up to us, and when it's up to us, a lot of evil is done in the name of revenge. It's not really just necessarily. So a part of that healing process, I think, comes with laying down that right, that righteous indignation that says, I want to get you back. We are called to a higher standard as Christ followers, and we leave that up to Him to work out someone else's story when that kind of hurt has happened. And sometimes it's really painful to watch, because it can take time, or it might feel like that person never gets what they deserve. But that is not our role, as hard as it is to accept. So number 5 is don't forget about God. And ultimately, He is the one that holds our lives together. Life can be really hard. Relationships can be really hard. There can be a lot of brokenness and trauma that comes, from other people that you don't even have a say in. And it's truly difficult. And it can feel almost like an unimaginably difficult hurdle to get over. But God is able to help us through even the deepest wounds that we experience and find peace and healing. And sometimes He even heals the other party and brings our marriages and relationships back together. Not always, and I definitely don't advocate for staying in an unhealthy or abusive situation. I think that's not God's best for you, and there are times when, as sad as it is, to see a relationship break in a permanent feeling way, sometimes that is the only way forward. But God is able to heal even the most difficult scenarios if you're willing to bring it to Him. And even if He can't bring your relationship back together, He is able to heal and care for your heart, especially with the help of others. We can't find freedom or healing or any of these things in a vacuum. We need a community to lean on. And we need others that know the Word of God deeply to draw on when our hearts are hurt and our hearts are in need of support. So find those people. And I just pray that if you're in a situation that is difficult, where hurt is deep, and when you're trying to figure out what does God want, I just pray that the Lord would guide you. He would give you strength. He knows every single story out there, and He is able to walk you through even the darkest moments when you grab onto Him. I pray His peace. I pray His comfort to be on and around you. I pray His protection from further hurt. I pray for reconciliation and healing, and that His grace would just be sufficient to meet all of your needs. Relationships can be challenging, but we serve a good God that comforts us and guides us and gives us peace in those dark and overwhelming places. All right, have a good one.